the human hunger to make visible. Have you ever felt the pull, that deep, almost primal urge to make something seen? From the first scratch on a cave wall to the perfectly filtered life on your phone, we are creators. But what if that creation, that image, is creating you? Think about it. Your profile, your feed, your carefully curated online self. Is it a reflection or a cage? Are we shaping gods in our image, or are we becoming slaves to the images we create? How much of the real you is in that screen? The Second Commandment, you shall not make for yourself a carved image. It's not a museum piece. It's a warning echoing through millennia, a warning about the slippery slope between representation and idolatry. This isn't about hating art. It's about the heart, the soul, that fragile, sacred space within us. What is an image? A shadow, a whisper, a sliver of reality, but we, in our hunger, try to make it the whole meal. Are we using images to point to something greater, or are we allowing them to replace the greater thing? In a world of deep fakes, where truth is a plaything, how do we find true north? Where influencers promise salvation through likes, how do we find real value? Your phone, that tiny screen, is a hall of mirrors, reflecting back a version of you, a curated, often false version. The question is, are you looking at yourself or a ghost? We build virtual heavens, personalized realities, but are we building freedom or gilded cages? Is the image you project the person you actually are, or is it a mask? The real battleground isn't the screen, it's the imagination, that sacred space where dreams are born, but also where idols are forged. We conjure up perfect versions of ourselves, of our lives, of the world, and then we believe them. We become trapped in the echo chamber of our own desires. What are the idols you've created in your mind? The perfect body? The perfect relationship? The perfect life? Are they leading you to life or to a slow death? Are you a prisoner to your own mind? This isn't a condemnation, it's a liberation, a call to purify the creative spirit. Ask yourself, what do these images serve? Do they point to something beyond themselves, or do they demand worship, consume devotion? The danger is not the object, but the posture of the soul. Are you bowing to the creation or the creator? How can we learn to see the image and not become enslaved by it? The true image we are called to bear is not one we forge with our hands. It's the image of God, reflected in the depths of our redeemed souls. This is a journey beyond the surface, into the heart of reality itself. Break free from the chains of your own making. Discover the living God who cannot be contained by any image. You are not your Instagram. You are not your profile. You are more than the image you project. You are a soul, and that soul is worth more than any image you could ever create. Find your true image by finding the one who created you. The golden calf, a case study in anxiety. Imagine the silence, the vast echoing silence of the desert. After the thunder of Sinai, the raw, unfiltered presence of the divine. Then, nothing. Just the weight of waiting, the gnawing fear of abandonment. The Israelites, their hearts pounding with uncertainty, their memories clinging to the familiar, the tangible. They craved a God they could see, a God they could touch, a God they could control, a God that fitted into their own limited understanding. Aaron, caught in the tempest of their fear, yields. He gathers their golden trinkets, their precious symbols of security, and throws them into the fire. What emerges? A calf, a symbol of their own making. Look at it, a crude golden idol, a desperate attempt to capture the uncapturable, to confine the infinite within a finite form. They danced around it, they worshipped it, they reduced God to a shiny, manageable object. Then Moses, descending like a thunderbolt, witnessing the betrayal, the tablets, symbols of the covenant, shatter, and Aaron, caught in his own web of excuses, utters those chilling words. It just came out of the fire. As if the divine could be so easily conjured, so casually explained. This isn't just a story, it's a mirror, a reflection of our own desperate attempts to tame the untamable, to make God fit into our boxes, our definitions, our comfort zones. The Second Commandment, "You shall not make for yourself a carved image," isn't a museum piece. It's a lifeline, a warning against the insidious pull of idolatry, the seductive illusion of control. We yearn to make the invisible visible, to capture the essence of the divine in clay, in pixels, in words. But every image, however beautiful, is a reduction, a pale shadow of the infinite. The golden calf, in its crude simplicity, reveals a profound truth. We fear the unknown, we crave certainty, and in our fear, we create gods in our own image, gods that reflect our own limitations. The danger isn't the object itself, it's the spiritual posture. It's the attempt to domesticate the transcendent, to make God subservient to our desires, to turn the divine into a commodity, a possession. This commandment isn't a condemnation of creativity, it's a call to transcendence, to move beyond the surface, beyond the tangible, into the depths of the mystery. We are called to open ourselves to the vastness of the divine, to embrace the awe-inspiring reality that defies all human comprehension, to seek God not in the idols we create, but in the depths of our own being, in the breathtaking beauty of the natural world, in the transformative power of love. The golden calf episode isn't just history. It's a warning, a call to break free from the chains of our own making, to resist the temptation to reduce God to a mere reflection of our own limited understanding, to dare to encounter the living God, the God who transcends all images, all idols, all our attempts at containment. Are you crafting golden calves in your life? What idols are you bowing to? What false gods are you creating? And are you ready to destroy them? God is not a thing. He is the I am, and I am cannot be contained. The philosophical divide. Form versus formlessness. Imagine two worlds, two visions of the divine colliding. On one side, the sun-drenched temples of Greece, where gods are sculpted from marble, ideals of human perfection given form. Zeus, Apollo, figures of strength, beauty, and wisdom captured in flawless stone, gods made in the image of humanity. Then, turn to the windswept hills of Judea, the ancient scrolls whispering of a God beyond all form, a God who defies all attempts at representation. Isaiah, his voice echoing through the ages. To whom will you liken God, or what image will you compare to him? A God transcendent, unseen, beyond the grasp of human hands and human minds. This is the fault line, the philosophical chasm that has shaped the very soul of Western thought. The tension between the Greek desire to see and the Hebrew imperative to know the unseen. The struggle between form and formlessness, between the sculpted self and the unknowable God. The Greeks, with their love of reason and the beauty of the created world, sought to elevate humanity, to see the divine reflected in the perfection of the human form. their art, their philosophy, a testament to the power of human imagination to give shape to the ideal. But the Hebrew Scriptures, they pierce through the illusion of form. They challenge us to confront the limits of our perception. They remind us that the divine is not a reflection of ourselves, but a mystery that transcends all human understanding, a vast, unknowable presence that cannot be confined to any image, any statue, any word. This tension, this constant pull between the tangible and the intangible, the seen and the unseen, it's not a relic of the past, it's the very heartbeat of our present. It's the struggle that defines our search for meaning, our quest for the divine. The Greek emphasis on form, it speaks to our inherent desire to find beauty in the created world, to honor the power of human creativity. It reminds us that our bodies, our minds, our works are capable of reflecting a glimpse of something greater. But the Hebrew reverence for the formless, it forces us to confront our limitations. It challenges us to acknowledge the vast, unknowable mystery that lies beyond the reach of our senses, beyond the grasp of our intellect. It calls us to humility, to a recognition that we are but finite beings in the presence of the infinite. Together, these perspectives, they weave a rich tapestry, a dynamic tension that has shaped the course of civilization. They offer a path, not to resolution, but to a deeper understanding of the eternal dance between the seen and the unseen, the form and the formless. This ancient debate, it's not just an academic exercise. It's a mirror reflecting our own struggles, our own questions, our own yearning for something beyond the surface. And as we navigate the digital age, the age of artificial intelligence, the age of virtual realities, this ancient tension will only intensify. How will we reconcile the urge to create with the imperative to recognize the limitations of our creations? How will we find the divine in a world saturated with images, a world where the lines between reality and illusion blur? The questions that once echoed through the temples of Greece and the hills of Judea, they echo still. And the answers, they lie not in choosing one side or the other, but in embracing the tension, in navigating the space between form and formlessness, in seeking the divine beyond all images. Aquinas on idolatry, disordered love. Forget the golden calf for a moment. Thomas Aquinas, that towering intellect of the Middle Ages, gives us a far more profound understanding of idolatry. It's not just about bowing to statues, it's about the very architecture of our desires. Imagine a ladder, a cosmic ladder, leading from the dust of the earth to the radiant light of the divine. At the top, God, the source of all being. Then the angels, pure spirits, contemplating that divine light. Then us, humans, created in God's image, capable of knowing and loving that source. And at the bottom, the world around us. The objects of our senses, the things we can touch, possess, and consume. Aquinas tells us that true happiness, true fulfillment lies in climbing that ladder, in orienting our love towards the source, towards God. To see the world not as an end in itself, but as a gift, a reflection, a pointer towards the divine. Idolatry, then, is a disordered love. It's clinging to the bottom rungs, mistaking the shadows for the substance, the effects for the cause. It's valuing wealth, power, fame, pleasure, anything created above our relationship with the Creator. We are all addicts, in a way, addicted to the fleeting highs of material possessions, the hollow validation of social media, the empty promises of worldly success. We chase after these things, thinking they'll fill the void, only to find ourselves more empty than before. Augustine, that restless soul, called it the circuit of self. a perpetual motion machine of desire, endlessly seeking satisfaction in the created, never finding it in the created. Aquinas offers an antidote, a way out of this spiritual malaise. He reminds us that true happiness isn't found in the accumulation of things, but in the reorientation of our desires, in detaching ourselves from the things that enslave us and seeking the ultimate source of love and joy. It's about recognizing that the beauty of a sunset, the wonder of a human connection, the joy of a creative act are all whispers of something greater, glimpses of the divine. But we must not mistake the whisper for the voice, the glimpse for the full vision. This isn't about rejecting the world, but about seeing it with clear eyes, with a heart attuned to the source. It's about climbing the ladder of love, moving from the shadows to the light, from the created to the creator. And in the digital age, this struggle becomes even more intense. In a world of endless images, curated realities, and virtual escapes, how do we discern the true from the false? How do we climb the ladder when the bottom rungs are so seductive, Are you climbing the ladder of love, or are you trapped in the basement of desire? Are you loving things and using God, or loving God and using things? The psychology of projection, your inner mirror. Ever wonder why we're so drawn to certain images, certain ideas? Sigmund Freud, that controversial genius, called it infantile projection. Fancy term for a simple truth. We see ourselves in our idols. Think of it like this: your phone, your screen, it's not just a window, it's a mirror. And what you see reflected back isn't always reality. It's often your own desires, your own fears, your own insecurities, that influencer you admire, that perfect online life. It's not just a picture, it's a projection. You're projecting your own longing for acceptance, for validation, for a life you think you want. And those news feeds, those echo chambers of opinions, we don't just consume information, we seek out voices that validate our own biases, our own fears. We create digital idols of our own beliefs. The golden calf wasn't just a statue, it was a reflection of the Israelites' anxiety, their fear of the unknown. And in our digital age, we're creating new golden calves every day. Likes, followers, curated personas, they're all reflections of our inner world. This is where the Second Commandment becomes so relevant. You shall not make for yourself a carved image. It's not just about statues. It's about the images we create in our minds, the projections we cast onto the world. We see the world not as it is, but as we want it to be, filtered through the lens of our own desires, our own fears. We see our own reflections and we worship them. The key is detached, to step back, to recognize our own projections, to see the world with a more objective eye, to acknowledge that our perspectives are limited, that there are other voices, other realities. This isn't easy. It requires humility, openness, a willingness to confront our own biases. But it's essential if we want to break free from the idols that enslave us. So, ask yourself, what are your projections? What idols are you creating? What mirrors are you holding up to the world? And are you ready to see the truth beyond your own reflection? Your feed is a reflection of you, but it does not have to define you. Byzantine iconoclasm, the image wars. Imagine a world ablaze with beauty, a civilization where art was not just decoration, but a doorway to the divine. The Byzantine Empire, a tapestry of gold and mosaic, a testament to the power of images to evoke the sacred. But then, the storm, the image wars. For centuries, icons had illuminated the faith, windows into heaven. But then, voices rose, accusing these images of idolatry, of blasphemy. The iconoclasts, their hearts burning with righteous fury, wielding the Second Commandment like a sword. You shall not make for yourself a carved image. They saw not beauty, but idolatry. Imagine the clash, the shattering of mosaics, the destruction of sacred art. A civilization tearing itself apart over the very images that had once united it. They feared that the beauty and power of these images would eclipse the worship of God. But then a voice rose in defense. John of Damascus, a monk, a theologian, a poet. He dared to challenge the iconoclasts, to defend the sacred image. I do not worship matter, he proclaimed, but I worship the creator of matter, who became matter for my sake and dwelt in it. He understood the incarnation, the radical idea that God had entered the material world, that the divine could be made visible. John argued that icons were not idols, but windows, portals to the divine. He distinguished between veneration and worship, between honoring the image and worshiping it. He understood that because God became man, that man could depict God. The iconoclasm controversy was not just a theological debate. It was a battle for the soul of Byzantine civilization. It was a struggle to reconcile the beauty of the created world with the mystery of the divine. Ultimately, the icons were restored, but the scars remained. The debate had forced the church to grapple with the power of images, to define the delicate balance between reverence and idolatry. And that struggle, that tension, it's not just history. It's a mirror reflecting our own relationship with images, with the digital world, with the art that surrounds us. How do we navigate the power of images without falling into idolatry? How do we honor the beauty of creation without mistaking it for the Creator? How do we find the divine in a world saturated with images without being consumed by them? The digital Baal. We live in a world of invisible gods, their temples glowing in our hands. Our smartphones, sleek and seductive, have become altars to a new kind of Baal, a digital deity demanding our constant, unwavering devotion. We carry these shrines in our pockets, their screens casting an otherworldly spell, a hypnotic glow that captivates our senses. Notifications, the digital equivalent of ritualistic offerings, flood our consciousness, each chime, each buzz, a sacred summons, a plea for our attention, a demand for our time. Likes and shares, the currency of this digital realm, become the blessings we crave, the validation we seek, shaping our sense of self-worth in the cold light of the screen. Influencers, the high priests of this new religion, with their curated lifestyles and meticulously crafted personas, guide us towards the promised land of social acceptance and digital affirmation. They preach the gospel of perfection, the illusion of a life without flaws, and we, their devoted followers, hang on their every word. The apps we use, the platforms we engage with, become the sacred texts of this digital age. We spend hours scrolling through feeds, absorbing a constant stream of information, entertainment, and social interaction, often at the expense of genuine human connection and meaningful experiences. We sacrifice our time, our attention, our very presence at the altar of the screen. The Second Commandment, "You shall not make for yourself a carved image," echoes through the ages, a chilling reminder of our human tendency to create idols. But in our time, the carved image is not stone or wood. It is the glowing screen, the digital reflection of our own desires and anxieties. Does our screen serve as a tool, a mediator of meaning, or has it become a tyrant, a monopolizer of our attention, a relentless force that distracts us from the present moment and the deeper realities of life? We must confront the sacrifices we make at the altar of our digital gods. Are we offering up our precious time, our fleeting attention, our very sense of self? Are we allowing these devices to dictate our emotions, shape our desires, and define our worth? Are we becoming slaves to the algorithms, puppets to the platforms? The challenge is not to demonize technology, but to discern its proper place in our lives. We must learn to wield these tools with wisdom and intentionality, to cultivate a sense of detachment, to resist the seductive pull of the digital world, the endless scroll, the insatiable hunger for validation, AI, and the God complex. We, the makers, the shapers of the world, have always pushed the boundaries of our creative powers. But now, we stand at the threshold of a new genesis, a digital creation unlike anything we've ever known, artificial intelligence. We are crafting beings that seem to possess a semblance of our own intelligence, our own creativity, even our own consciousness. Neural networks, those intricate webs of digital neurons, conjure hyper-realistic faces, indistinguishable from human countenances, blurring the lines between reality and simulation. DeepMind's AlphaFold unlocks the secrets of life itself, mapping the intricate folds of proteins, revealing the very building blocks of existence. We are creating mirrors, reflections of ourselves, and sometimes, it seems, reflections of something more. But the ancient warning, "You shall not bow down to them," echoes with a profound urgency in this digital age. It's not a condemnation of technology, nor a dismissal of the remarkable achievements of AI. It's a sober reminder of our own limitations, a caution against the hubris that can arise from our creative endeavors, the seductive illusion of godhood. We are not gods. We are creatures, endowed with intelligence and creativity, yes, but ultimately bound by the constraints of our own finite nature. The pursuit of artificial intelligence, while holding immense potential, also carries the risk of a subtle, insidious form of idolatry, a digital God complex. We may be tempted to ascribe to our creations a kind of divinity, to see in them a reflection of our own idealized selves, our own perfected image. We may begin to worship the very products of our ingenuity, forgetting that they are ultimately tools, instruments, extensions of our own limited powers, our own flawed understanding. The danger lies not in the machines themselves, but in the spiritual posture we adopt towards them. If we allow our creations to become objects of worship, if we place our ultimate hope and trust in their capabilities, if we allow them to become the arbiters of truth and morality, we risk losing sight of the true source of our being, the transcendent reality that gives meaning to all creation, the divine spark that ignites the human spirit. The Second Commandment calls us to a profound humility, a recognition of our own creaturely status. It reminds us that our true vocation lies not in seeking to become gods ourselves, but in cultivating a right relationship with the divine. Catholic aesthetics, windows to the divine. The Catholic Church, a custodian of centuries of artistic expression, offers a profound understanding of art's role in the life of faith. It's not a simple matter of decoration, but a deep-seated belief in the sacramental principle that the material world can be a conduit of divine grace, a tangible pathway to the invisible God. This isn't a naive embrace or a fearful rejection of images. It's a delicate dance, a discerning navigation of the tension between the visible and the invisible, the material and the spiritual. As Hans Urs von Balthasar, that luminous theologian, declared, "Beauty is the battlefield of God." a battlefield not of violence, but of encounter, where the divine and the human meet, where grace wrestles with the limitations of our fallen nature. Sacred art, when rightly understood, is not idolatry, but invitation. It's not about capturing the divine in a static form, confining the infinite within the finite. It's a humble gesture, a pointing beyond itself, a fragile attempt to offer a glimpse of the formless through form, a whisper of the eternal in the temporal. Consider the stained glass windows of Chartres Cathedral. These aren't mere decorations. They're luminous narratives, theological poems written in light and color. They tell the stories of salvation history not as abstract concepts, but as vivid, tangible realities. They invite us to step into the biblical drama, to contemplate the mysteries of faith, to experience the transformative power of divine grace as light floods through the stories. Or Michelangelo's Pieta. It's not just a beautiful sculpture, it's a profound meditation on suffering and love. The tender embrace of Mary and her lifeless son evokes a visceral sense of compassion, drawing us into the depths of human sorrow and the redemptive power of divine love. It transcends mere aesthetics, becoming a window into the very heart of God, a testament to the divine empathy. And in our time, artists like Father Marco Rupnik continue this tradition, creating mosaics that are both aesthetically stunning and theologically profound. His works, with their intricate patterns and symbolic imagery, invite contemplation and reflection, challenging us to engage with the mysteries of faith on a deeper level. Protestant creativity, the word made fresh. The Protestant Reformation, though initially marked by iconoclasm, ultimately unleashed a new wave of artistic expression. Freed from the constraints of traditional iconography, artists explored new forms and styles, seeking to express their faith in ways that resonated with the changing sensibilities of the modern world. The breaking of old forms led to the creation of new ones. The emphasis on the Word of God, rather than elaborate rituals and visual imagery, opened up new avenues for creative expression. Music became a powerful vehicle for conveying spiritual truths. Composers like Bach and Handel, drawing inspiration from the Psalms and the Gospels, crafted masterpieces that continue to move and inspire listeners centuries later, a testament to the power of sound to touch the soul. The Reformation also fostered a renewed appreciation for the beauty of the natural world. The writings of theologians like John Calvin, while emphasizing God's sovereignty, also celebrated the wonders of creation as reflections of divine glory. This led to a flourishing of landscape painting as artists sought to capture the awe-inspiring beauty of God's handiwork. In the 20th century, movements like abstract expressionism explored the spiritual dimensions of art, seeking to convey the ineffable, the transcendent, through the interplay of color, form, and texture. Artists like Mark Rothko and Jackson Pollock, while not explicitly religious, tapped into a deep spiritual wellspring, inviting viewers to contemplate the mysteries of existence and the presence of the divine in the depths of their own souls, the hidden language of the Spirit. Today we see a vibrant tapestry of artistic expression, the uncarved block. The Second Commandment, often misconstrued as a prohibition against beauty, is in its essence a profound call to holy detachment. It invites us to cultivate a spiritual freedom, a liberation from the tyranny of our own creations. Like Lao Tzu's concept of the uncarved block, it beckons us to encounter God not in the idols we fashion, but in the very ground of being that underlies all existence, the silent, unmanifest source from which all forms arise. In an age saturated with endless images, where screens flicker with a relentless stream of representations, The invisible God whispers a timeless invitation: be still and know. It is a call to quiet the clamor of our desires, to transcend the fleeting allure of the visible, and to find our true center in the stillness of the divine presence. Our idols, whether fashioned from stone or forged from silicon, will inevitably crumble, their allure fading like the ephemeral glow of a dying star. But the one who spoke at Sinai, the one who is the Alpha and Omega, the first and last, the unseen who sees all, endures beyond the ebb and flow of time. This exploration into the sacred struggle with image and imagination invites us to a deeper contemplation of our relationship with the visible and the unseen. If this journey has stirred within you a desire for a more authentic encounter with the divine, we invite you to join the Hope in God community. Subscribe for ongoing reflections on faith and culture, share your own insights on navigating the digital landscape, and let us walk together, finding the presence of the unseen God in every pixel and every stone along our shared pilgrimage towards a life of mindful awareness.